Good evening. I'm Kelly Wright. Thanks for joining me this hour as we spend it together. I do hope you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family because you matter. Opening observations tonight. Let's get beyond the craziness of the campaign trail. Let's put that debacle of a debate behind us, but let us not lose sight of what really matters most to the American people, in particular, our Black community, our youth, our education, to empower our youth. Yes, we have a pandemic that we're dealing with, and it's causing a lot of heartbreak and pain throughout our country, more than 205,000 deaths. And yes, we're dealing with a lot of racial division in our country. And that too is causing us a lot of angst and heartbreak as we seek social and racial justice. But let us not forget to instill promise and hope into our youth and focus on our youth when they're doing so many positive things that the media at large just doesn't pay enough attention to. So tonight, in my opening observation and on tonight's show, we're going to focus on an incredible school with some remarkable students and great leadership because they understand that education matters. They understand that education without morals, integrity, and character is like a ship without a rudder, a guide without a compass, a life without direction, aimlessly wandering anywhere but getting nowhere. Think about that, because many people could say that is exactly what's happening within the United States today. But there is a future that is shining bright from many places throughout Black America. And tonight we'll focus on one of those spots. Tonight we're going to get off the beaten path of what we see happening in politics and racial division. Tonight we're going to focus on Black American values like love, faith, integrity, excellence, and empowerment. Because that, my friends, is proof positive that the Black American dream lifts up the entire American dream. And those are my opening observations. Well, it gives me great pleasure tonight to focus on something other than politics, other than the raucous that's going on and the political and racial divisions that we have in our country. It gives me great pleasure tonight to actually have this program focus on an incredible school. Before we actually get into it by introducing you to the school's director, as well as some of the teachers and the students who are so promising and hopeful for our future, I thought I'd at least talk about its founder, Lawrence Jones. He was a gentleman who, at the tender age of a young man graduating, being the first Black to graduate from the University of Iowa back in 1908, embarked upon a career of excellence in education. He saw a situation going on in Piney Woods, Mississippi, Rankin County, Mississippi, to be exact, at a time that things were very difficult racially, in a time when things were difficult financially. They weren't dealing with a pandemic, but they were dealing with a virus of illiteracy, and in large part due to racism. He wrote in his book, Piney Woods and Its Story, that he made the move to Mississippi to answer the, quote, cries of my people for the opportunities of education which were being denied them. And thereby he wrote the vision and made it plain. And with $1.65, a Bible, and 2 dress shirts, he made his way to Rankin County, Mississippi, and created the Piney Woods School. And that's where our story begins tonight, in talking to the director of Piney Woods School, Will Crossley. Will, thank you for being on the program tonight and sharing some insights and making people aware of this incredible school that's gone on now for 100 years to educate African-American students in such an excellent and moving way. How did you get involved?
Well, Kelly, first, thank you for having us on. We're so excited and delighted to be with you, have an opportunity to share our story. I got involved in my current role after practicing law for some time in Washington, D.C. and was invited after a civil rights practice to come to the school and spend some time in leadership here. But I really got involved because, like many of the students who I have the honor and privilege of serving today, I was one of those students. I grew up initially on the south side of Chicago, neighborhood called Inglewood. So not an easy place to grow up, but a group loving family, but through some hardship, some economic hardship and some other hardships. And when I was 13 years old, I was gifted with a scholarship to come here to Piney Woods and be a part of this grand experiment that we've been doing for now 111 years. And so to leave Washington and come back to do this work has brought me full circle and has helped me really to fulfill some of the wildest dreams I could have ever had.
We're coming back with much more of the Piney Woods story after this. I want to go back to your Chicago experience, though, because your experience is not unlike what many of us who grow up in tough neighborhoods that are riddled by gun violence and also the negativity that's there, saying we can't make it because the odds are too great, and we're dealing with an income inequity that keeps us in poverty or keeps us just below the average income. How difficult was it for you in Inglewood in Chicago?
Yeah. So, it was really difficult. My mom and dad initially, when I was very young, were together and were able to get a home. But quite frankly, our family went through some struggle. My parents split, and my mom, my three sisters, and I had to move in with my grandmother. And for my grandmother, she could only handle us for so long before we had to move in with an aunt, and she could only handle us for so long before we had to move in with another aunt. And we simply didn't have much. And but for the love of family, I'm not sure how we would have been homeless. And so during that period of time, I'm often reminded that from kindergarten to seventh grade, we moved so often that I had to go to a different school every year.
Wow.
And sometimes a different school within the same year. And when that happens to you, you don't have a sense of stability and a sense of community, and a sense of consistency and structure that kids so desperately need. And so all of that was prior to coming to school here. The reason I'm so excited about what I get to do now, the reason most people who do fundraising, I do fundraising for most of my work. Most people do fundraising, don't like it. It's, I don't want to raise money. I love what I do because I get to tell the story of our students and the story of our school. And quite frankly, my story is the Piney Woods School story.
Yeah.
Coming here was really the difference maker in my life. And because I came to school here, I was able to get a scholarship to the University of Chicago, which is only about 10 minutes from my grandmother's house in Inglewood. But nobody from our neighborhood ever got to go to school at the University of Chicago. I didn't even know what the University of Chicago was when I was growing up. And so I've been enormously blessed, and now I get to be blessed again in doing this work.
That's fantastic, Will. You're quite a humble and modest person, but you're a dynamic leader because you went on to not only from the University of Chicago, but then to Harvard and then University of Virginia Law School, practice law. And now you're using all those skill sets and just your love for God and and your people to help the next generation. It's fantastic. I want my editor right now to show these wonderful students that you have. How many students do you have in total right now on the campus there at Piney Woods?
So we can scholarship up to 100 students a year. Now we're just below that this year because of COVID. We've given our students single rooms, but we do about 100 scholarships a year. And of course, we're involved in a fundraising effort. We want to expand. I've got room for a total of about 300 kids here. We want to expand and be able to fund scholarships for more and more students beyond our current limit of 100 students a year. And so the students we have with us today are representative of that 100 students we do annually here.
That's fantastic. We're going to talk about how people watching this program can help. Right now, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll introduce you to these incredible students and hear their stories, as well as stories from two of their teachers about the Piney Woods experience. There's nothing like it. It is a model for the nation in terms of virtue and excellence. Back with more of the program right after this break. Welcome back to the program. So I'm delighted and excited to talk about the Piney Woods School because it is an experiment that Lawrence Jones started back in 1909, sitting on a log there in Piney Woods, reading a book, and literally a Black child walked out of the woods in Piney Woods, sat down beside him, held up the book upside down. And Mr. Jones, Will Crossley, as I understand the story, you're the director of the school today, the child couldn't read. And the literacy rate there was already 80%. And he was able to teach that child to read. But the child also brought other students there. And then with the help of some citizens there in that community, a Black man giving him 40 acres, and then a white man actually allowing him to use a sheep shed to start this school. And that, I understand that sheep shed is still there on the grounds of Piney Woods today. It's a remarkable story, isn't it?
It is indeed completely remarkable. I always talk about the fact that we really started with one student, one teacher, and $1.65. But Lawrence C. Jones also had a Bible, and our faith has been deeply ingrained in what we do as a Christian school each day. We are truly faith inspired, and it's how we wake up every day. Christianity, it is indeed our moral compass for how we make decisions here on the campus. We invite people of any faith, of any tradition, to join us here. We just want them to come knowing that they're going to be in a loving Christian community. And so that's what's driven us from our very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's helped you quite a bit going back to your model of teaching students head, heart, and hand. So let me bring in some of the students right now. Students, if you will, just introduce yourselves to us, and we'll call you up one by one. But look at these wonderful students, and they're all practicing social distancing. Everyone's wearing their masks. They're also joined by two of their teachers. So Isis, tell us your story, please.
Well, I grew up in a small town in southeastern Connecticut, and I knew that if I stayed there, I wouldn't get the opportunities that I would get if I came down to Mississippi. And I'm really interested in agri-science and environmental awareness and sustainability. And I saw that Piney Woods had a really good program with that, so that's why I decided to come.
How difficult is it to be away from home, or has Piney Woods become your home away from home?
Piney Woods really has become my home away from home. At first, it was a little different because I come from the Northeast and I don't really have too much family down here. But after like just a few days, I already felt like I was a part of the Piney Woods community and I already felt like fully ingrained in everything.
What would be your message to America today in light of all that's going on and how COVID-19 has really hurt us and kept us from getting the kind of education that we need, especially among Black American children?
I feel like something I want to let America know after everything that's been going on is that you just have to keep pushing forward and always have faith and always know that no matter what, God is on your side, and just be positive.
Absolutely. Let's go to our next student. Please reintroduce yourself for us and tell us why you're there.
Hi, my name is Shalise Montgomery. I'm from Seattle, Washington. The reason why I came to Piney Woods was because Piney Woods offers a better education than my previous school that I went to. It offers more of a loving family and more hands-on learning, I should say, more student-based, and that's why I keep coming.
And the same question I asked your fellow student, Isis, has it been difficult to be away from home, or is the family atmosphere there so strong that you're able to keep it moving and keep aspiring for greatness?
Um, in the beginning, there were jitters, because you get homesick. You're in a new place. I'm from the city, and it's very much the country life down here. We have farms and chickens and stuff. It's very different, but it gives you an opportunity to adapt and see that the world has so many different faces and cultures and ways of thinking. Also, the friends that you make down here make it very much a family feel.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. We're going to take a slight break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to hear from the young male students and what they're accomplishing. But this is really a golden opportunity, I believe, for this show and this network to reveal to you the greatness of our people by looking at the greatness of our future through the eyes of our youth. Back with more after this. Welcome back to the program. So I'm introducing to you for the first time for some of you, the Piney Woods School. For those of you who already know its legacy of greatness, well, sit down and enjoy this because this is a wonderful moment. And we need a break from what we've been seeing in the news media. It's been so negative. We've been bombarded with so much pain and heartbreak throughout this year. With so many people passing, more than 200,000 lives lost due to COVID-19 pandemic, and then people talking about the problems with educating, getting people back to school responsibly. Well, the Piney Woods School, being brilliant like they are and innovative like they are, and also respectful of people like they are, they have students gathered at their school, some 100 students on the campus there in Rankin County, Mississippi, in Piney Woods, and they have students socially distancing themselves. It's one of the best, if not the greatest, boarding school for Black Americans in this country, and it shows Black American values. Case in point, we just heard from two wonderful students. We're going to hear from another student right now. Caesar, you're joining us right now. Caesar, tell us your name and where you're from.
I am Caesar Stewart, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
You're from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a great city in and of itself, but the inner city there can be very tough for some Black students and Black children. Why did you leave to come to Piney Woods?
I left Charlotte to come to Piney Woods because in Charlotte, it was a lot going on with a lot of gun violence and racial inequality and things like that. So I asked my mom. I was introduced by my old school, KIPP Charlotte, and I asked my mom about it, and she said she was fine with it. So we did a lot more research, and then we contacted Mr. Barber and other staff at the school, and she said she liked the school. So we came down here, and as soon as I got here, it felt like family. Like, I can get the feeling of family here. So I was like, I think this would be a great opportunity for me to learn and stay away from all the violence that are going on in the world.
So what's happening with your life right now? What are some of the activities you're engaged in? And what do you hope to accomplish once you leave the school?
Right now I'm only like worried about like, my education, so I'm in a lot of different classes in school and things. And I recently signed up for a few of the sports and other activities and clubs here.
And based on that, what's your message to America?
My message is to America is just to keep trying, and if things are going hard, it's always a better like always go for the better option and have faith in God and keep trying.
We've got another student joining us. And sir, tell us your name and where you're from.
Landon Smith from Jackson, Mississippi.
And tell me, what's it been like there? What grade are you in now?
11th grade.
11th grade. So you're almost finished. You're probably looking at colleges if you haven't been looking at them already. And what's your dream?
I want to be a chef when I grow up.
Fantastic. And what's it been like for you for these past 3 years, working there, going to school there, and getting to know the teachers and your fellow students?
It's been great. Getting to know everybody on campus is probably one of the better parts of doing it. Cause like you can walk up to really anybody on here and say hey. They'll say hey back. Real loving. It's been fun working here. Like we get a chance to have that real life work experience. We have to clock in, clock out. We have to make sure we have a certain amount of hours at the end of the week. So getting that work experience is also good for us too.
Yeah, working on you have a farm that you're working on. You have buildings that you help build. It's fantastic. I think people need to understand that most of the buildings that are on the grounds there at Piney Woods was designed and built by the students themselves, along with help from various corporations throughout America. What would be your message to America based on your experience at Piney Woods?
My message to America would be fight. Keep fighting. Don't stop fighting, and always make sure that you scout all your options and don't just pick the first thing that you see. Build your own morals, your own thoughts, and think for yourself. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. Don't follow what you see everybody else doing. Think for yourself. Keep fighting.
That's fantastic. Be yourself, and as we heard earlier, be unapologetically yourself, and be black and proud of your accomplishments. Thank you so much for that, sir. We're going to take a break, Will, and when we take a break, we'll take that and come back and talk to your teachers, two of your teachers who are doing some outstanding work there. Back with more of the Piney Woods story after this. Welcome back to the program. So we've heard from the students at Piney Woods School in Rankin County, Mississippi, and the director, Will Crossley, has got to be proud. Will, when I hear from your students, I see them doing so many things, from architectural design to engineering to pioneering with agriculture. There is so much available to the students who choose to go there. And we're hearing, like your personal story, of how they came out of some pretty difficult areas where there's gun violence, there's racial inequities. And when they get to that campus, they feel a sense of relief and purpose and duty and honor to God and to themselves, to each other, and actually, for that matter, to the country and the world.
Yes, no, absolutely. And, every student here does receive a scholarship from the school. Our student scholarships are based on parental income, but every student receives a work scholarship. And so the young man you just heard from, Landon Smith, We've introduced him to some different work opportunities, and he mentioned he wanted to be a chef. Landon works in our dining services. So he assists with cooking some of the meals that we eat. Someone showed me a picture a few days ago of him flipping pancakes in our kitchen here. And so, what we want to be about is students taking responsibility and control of their own education and their own lives. We believe in sustainability and self-reliance and self-determination. These are really important, and they're grounding principles of entrepreneurship that our students must have in order to be successful in the 21st century.
Absolutely. And like I said before, you can't do it alone. So I want to bring in two of your teachers and have the teachers come forward and talk to us about all the great things that have been going on there on the campus. Let me bring in Levancia first. And Levancia, I apologize. I forgot your last name and I don't want to misspell it or mispronounce it. So tell us your first and last name and how long you've been teaching there on the campus of Piney Woods.
I'm Levancia McGee, and I have been here at the Piney Woods School for 6 years now.
And Levancia McGee, which I should have known because one of my colleagues is Laverne McGee, who's the anchor of Black News Channel. But Levancia, what drives you to get up every morning and be there on campus to help the students?
Well, what drives me to get up every morning and make the hour drive to Piney Woods are the students. These students, this is a place where it's not just work, it's about service. And the service that we do here, we can see the reward daily. Whether it's a student that walks by and just gives you a greeting to say good morning, or whether they say thank you, and that student who just figured out how to use the quadratic formula. We see the reward of our work daily. And so that's what makes it wonderful to come here.
So often we hear how Black students are not performing as well as they could because of being in inner city environments or negative environments. And yet we know that the opposite is true, that Black students have the ability to achieve greatness and they do it against all odds. But what Piney Woods, to me from the outside looking in, it's removed all those negative, that negative atmosphere that they might encounter. And there they have the ability to live their dream and be a part of helping others achieve it as well.
Yes, here we're reminded every morning in chapel that's led by Mr. Crosley, that we're empowered. Walk around, hold your head up. We're not inferior to anyone. Our students aren't inferior to anyone. You are capable. We don't care what someone else said to you or what your last school said. Here you're here to learn. That's why we promote and we live out Dr. Florence C. Jones' dream to educate the head, heart, and hands. So when a student may be struggling in math and you can take them out to the farm and show them how to apply it, and that student feels empowered, and that's what we do here. So, whereas inner city schools may not be getting it right, we're getting it right here at Piney Woods because we can tap into the whole student.
Thank you for that, Levancia McGee. And when we return from break, we're going to hear from another teacher there on the campus, Mr. Zarian Greenwood. We'll come back with that and more after this. Welcome back to the program. So I hope you're really enjoying this insightful and informative look at the Piney Woods School. And certainly as we go forward, we'll focus more on schools like this. You've heard me on this show before present to you another school operating in the heart of Southside Chicago at the Gary Comer College Prep with a CHAMPS mentoring program. It's so important, however, for Black men to be actively involved in the lives of our young boys and girls. And so on the campus, at Piney Woods in Rankin County, Mississippi, is Zarian Greenwood. And he is not only a teacher, but sir, I view you as being a mentor to a lot of the students. And it's odd to see that Black men are able to stand in the role of being teachers. And when I say odd, because we don't show it enough. So let's break up the oddity and bring in a brother like you who's really doing some good things to help students right there on campus.
Yes, sir. And then I would have to say that one thing about being at Piney Woods is that Piney Woods definitely breaks up that oddity in the sense that we have multiple African-American male teachers. And that's something that really stands out to me because I went to school in Rankin County. I actually went to the public school system in Rankin County. And throughout my education process, I didn't have an African-American male instructor until I got to Tougaloo College. So being here and being able to be that positive role model and being able to not only be their teacher, but be whatever they need me to be. And then the great part about being in Piney Woods is since we have 2,000 acres, I have a 2,000 acre classroom. So when we say classroom without walls or classroom without borders, that's here. And I don't think anywhere in the country or the world could match that 2,000 acre classroom.
Wow. You know, when you're involved in the classroom and then helping students understand farming and agriculture and architecture and everything else, all the academics, what do you get out of it in seeing a child's life become so vastly improved because of you and your colleague Levancia and Mr. Will Crossley and so many others helping these students achieve greatness?
I would have to say personal, what I gained from that, it's just joy. Just honestly knowing that you made a difference or that you were able to help a coworker make a difference or that the institution itself was able to make a difference and change lives. Because so every institution in society serves a purpose. And I definitely believe that every single day, Piney Woods goes beyond its purpose and fills needs in our society. And it just brings a lot of joy and pride to be a part of that, to be able to help this institution fulfill the needs and its obligations to the society and African American community.
Zarian, I thank you. I thank you and Levancia for the great work you're doing. I thank all of the students. And when we come back, we're going to talk to all of you collectively, along with Mr. Will Crossley, about what the future holds for Piney Woods and what people can do, Will, to help out this school and help pandemic proof it, because you're already operating against all odds. You are, I love the fact that you are doing this unafraid and doing it proudly and righteously. Back with more after this. Welcome back to the program. So I really have enjoyed this program because I wanted to break up the noise. There's just too much noise out there that's getting into our heads. And sometimes because of all the noise, we can't hear the truth. Well, tonight, we've not only heard the truth from promising Black students who represent 100 students there on the campus of Piney Woods School in Mississippi, and from the integrity and the heart and the value of the teachers, and certainly from the vision and the leadership of the teachers, as well as Mr. Will Crossley, Dr. Will Crossley, who is an attorney who left a great law firm here in DC to be right there to serve the students, Black students, achieve their dream. And Will, I recall during a virtual fundraiser that we held just yesterday for Piney Woods through the Whitson Center, which raised to date some $320,000, and it's probably going to be more because you want to fill 200 seats there. You want to put 200 more students on that campus. How can people watching this program tonight reach out and help you achieve that goal?
Yeah, so everyone can contribute to be a part of what we're doing. That's been true for us from our very beginning. Lawrence C. Jones, who you mentioned, who started our school, about 9 years into doing this work, he wasn't a minister, but he was invited to a church because he was an educated African American. And speaking at that church, some white members of the community thought that he was riling up African Americans here in Mississippi to revolt, and they were going to hang him. They took him from that church. They fashioned a noose and set him on a pile of rubbish and strung the rope over the tree. And then they asked him if he had any final words, and he talked to them about the work that he was doing, but he also talked to them about all the people who were supporting the work, Black people and white people who were contributing and donating to the work, who were investing in our students. And the same white gentleman who had riled up the crowd, when he heard some of the names of people who were supporting the school, he actually was moved himself. And he thought, if this school has that broad spectrum of support, it must be worth something donated. And he literally took off his hat and passed his hat. And they raised over $40 for the Pineywood School 9 years after we had opened. Everybody can contribute to what we're doing. And when everybody contributes, it gives us a groundswell of support that impacts every student we serve.
Absolutely. So here's a man who showed so much courage, Lawrence C. Jones. He was facing a lynching and he turned it around. You don't hear about stories like that. And yet there are so many courageous stories like that because of a Black man's faith in God and in his own abilities to be able to get through this. We've seen it. We've heard it in the likes of Frederick Douglass, Fannie Lou Hamer, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and the list goes on, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall. And you, my friend, are there, and as well as the teachers, to help these students achieve that kind of greatness against all odds and even against the racial divide that we have in this country right now.
Yeah, sometimes, Kelly, I as I'm doing this work, and I'm really privileged with some of the achievements that I've had, and sometimes I feel really good about what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm contributing back to the community that gave to me. But when I really stop and think about it, a lot of days I realize that he, Lawrence C. Jones, and he, our God, planted me here just for this moment. And so it's not really about us individually, right? It's about the impact that we're having on others in the world. And that's been true for our school from the start. That's the message we try to give our students. We remind them regularly that to whom much is given, much is required. We want them to go out into the world remembering that they were gifted an opportunity to be here. This morning, our devotional was around how you earn, right, the gifts after you've received them. And you do that by living a responsible life of good citizenship, right, of good moral caliber. And so that's what we're doing here.
That's good. It's the Pineywood story here on the Kelly Wright Show. And students and teachers, I got to leave it with you. I am honored to have met you. I am encouraged to know you. And I hope that your story and your dreams will carry you very far and that you'll do great things. Like Mr. Crossley said, that you'll understand that you are blessed to be a blessing to others. And certainly in times like these, again, going back to what's happening out in the political world, what's happening in the racial world, what's happened in our country since the COVID-19 pandemic. And I could go down the list of things that have gone awry with regards to our racial indifferences in this country and how we have to really get over that. But to each of you students and to your fellow students, I pray for you to have nothing but success, wild success, so that you can lift others up. Any final words from students and teachers?
Just ask that everyone donate. we ask that you know, go to donate.pinywoods.org and, you know, give. And if you have something else to give, whether it's your talent, you know, we can welcome you into our classrooms via Zoom at this time. But more importantly, we invite you to donate.pinywoods.org.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for that money. A dollar will do. Anything from people. And students, any remarks from you?
Thank you for the opportunity that you all are giving us to show our school, and just thank you for everything.
I love you guys. You got that Piney Woods. I don't want to call it swagger. You got that Piney Woods stride. You show it well. You display it well, and you are striving for excellence. Appreciate you all. God bless you, and keep on educating, you know, yourselves and each other with the motto of the whole person: head, heart, and hands. God bless you all. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you.
We'll be back with my final word after this. Welcome back to the program. I indeed want to thank all of my guests from the Piney Woods School tonight. I really appreciate what's being done for the students, and I appreciate the dedication of the staff and the faculty and its director, Dr. Will Crossley. You know, it was Frederick Douglass who once says, "Once you learn to read, you will be forever free." He also added, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Piney Woods School understands that. And we in America need to be thoughtful about what we're seeing and applaud the students and the staff of Piney Woods School, because they have taught us to be righted, united, and ignited in faith, hope, love, freedom, and peace. Keep on shining your light, Piney Woods. Good night, everyone.
I'm feeling great, so happy to tell you that I am saved. I'm born again, delivered from sin. I'm living with the joy and the peace within. And this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I want the world to know. This little light of mine, I've gotta let it flow. God is good, God is grace, and someday we'll see him face to face. He's given me peace of mind. I feel the joy and the peace inside. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart to stay. I've got the love of Jesus flowing through me, and it can't be taken away.